When we encounter unpleasant situations, the mind often begins to grasp involuntarily. The more it grasps, the more our suffering is amplified. At this moment, the first step is not to solve the problem, but to accept what has already happened. Acceptance does not mean approval, nor does it mean liking the situation. It simply means acknowledging that this is what has occurred. This is the mind's first operation. How the mind is guided afterward is a separate matter. What happens if we do not accept it? Without acceptance, the mind repeatedly returns to the same event, generating countless reasons, assumptions, and emotional reactions. Over time, one becomes increasingly trapped in this process. When one finally tries to step out of it, it is often very difficult because the mind has already formed a habit of grasping onto this particular issue. Therefore, if one truly wishes to change a state of ongoing suffering, the key does not lie in external circumstances, but in one thing: stopping the mind from grasping at the wrong objects. Stopping the grasping of wrong objects does not mean suppressing thoughts. It means ceasing to engage with the thoughts, images, emotions, and assumptions related to the situation. How can this be done? Buddhism offers a very clear method: intentional attention, or consciously and deliberately directing the mind toward a different object. A mind that has not been trained in mindfulness will inevitably grasp at something. If it is not allowed to grasp this, it will grasp something else. Therefore, the point is not grasping, but grasping the right object. For example, one may direct the mind towards something meaningful and life-affirming, such as a Buddha's name, a mantra, or simply placing attention on the breath. These methods are not a form of escapism. Rather, they prevent the mind from continuing to generate negative energy and from feeding obsessive thoughts and suffering. On the surface, it may still appear to be grasping. In reality, however, the mind is redirecting the force that once grasped at suffering toward an object that is wholesome, stable, and beneficial. Whether it is a Buddha's name, a mantra, or the breath, Buddhist practice offers many such wholesome objects of attention. These objects do not create conflict or intensify emotions. Instead, they provide the mind with nourishment and a means of settling and stabilizing itself. Once a new object of attention is firmly established, the old suffering naturally comes to rest. It is not destroyed, but it ceases to function because it is no longer sustained. In this way, it is allowed to rest and, in a sense, to fall asleep. Many people today experience anxiety, depression, or other mental health challenges. The core issue is often not the severity of external events, but the inability to stop the mind from grasping at negative objects of attention. People repeatedly cling to distressing thoughts, images, worries, and fears, without ever learning how to redirect the mind toward a healthier and more constructive object. As a result, they sink deeper into suffering. Therefore, for a practitioner, the first essential task is to understand how the mind functions. The second is to learn, whenever grasping is noticed, to choose consciously what the mind grasps. Rather than allowing the mind to cling to its habitual objects, one deliberately guides it towards something that brings stability, clarity, and inner strength. This is not an escape from life. It is a genuine responsibility toward one's own mind.